Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Awakening with the Girls. Shannon Shine here.
And Breezy. Hey, hi, Vibe Humans. What's up?
Hi, hey. We're so excited that you are tuning in. We got another high vibe topic for you. Today, we're discussing the importance of being able to claim your story and really just own what makes you you and why it's supposed to basically make you stronger. This month, we're all discussing about power and taking our power back in the Bring Me to Life Challenge. And Breezy, I know you've been putting a lot of really great content out about accepting your power.
Yeah, you have humans can check it out on Instagram at Golden Guy and Breezy. And basically, I just talk about like my story about taking your power back, how important it is, and some really cool statements that you can use to get your power back.
Yeah, I'm excited for other people to check them out. They should leave you comments on them because we love comments and feedback.
Mm-hmm. Spread love and subscribe.
Yeah, subscribing helps us so much. So to get this conversation started, I have a really powerful quote. When we were starting to talk about sharing our story in the Bring Me to Life Challenge, it came up to some people were afraid to share their story. It was almost as if they thought their story wasn't powerful enough. Have you ever felt that way?
Yes, I actually recently did feel that way. And Shannon, you've helped me overcome that a little bit in terms of being able to use my voice and share my story and actually believe that my story is important and will be impactful by sharing it, you know, because as I experience the world, I see it through my experience as a person of color with dreadlocks, also as a woman. And that perspective comes with certain situations that I've been in, and being able to share those situations and share those perspectives has really helped me grow and helped me heal in so many ways.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'm excited to discuss that a little bit more. I'm glad that you've been able to share your story. And it took me a while to be able to share mine, too. It actually, I've reread a quote that really inspired me to be able to make my voice more heard and to take the power in my story, because I too kind of thought like I wasn't sure my story was worth sharing, even though I've had a lot of really powerful things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard this quote, and it was by a powerful woman, another awakened female here. And she's actually running for president right now. But this quote came out way back. It actually came out like the year after I was born. It came out in 1992. So this is a powerful quote that has been sticking around.
Yeah, it's a throwback.
Yeah. And you may have heard it before, but I'm going to recite it for all of you here. It says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure, and it is in our light and not our darkness that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? And actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that the other people won't feel insecure around you. You are all meant to shine, and as children we do, and we are born to make and manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others." And that's by Marianne Williamson from her book, A Return to Love, which is a reflection on the principles of A Course in Miracles.
Ooh, man, that's powerful. Just let that sink in.
I love it. I love that she touches on the fact that it liberates us to share our stories.
And that it's actually something that'll connect us deeper with God.
And it doesn't necessarily say that God's going to judge you or anything like that. It just talks about how you own your story. And you've been given this story not to play small and to fear it or be afraid of it, but to instead learn from it and to teach others by sharing that light.
Exactly. And by sharing that light, hopefully other people feel comfortable sharing their story with you. Mm-hmm. And then we just are able to connect on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm, totally. I know anytime I've shared a piece of myself with others, it's given them a way to really connect deeper and to love us deeper. I think you've reminded me that before too. Like by sharing innocent pieces of ourselves, it reminds others that we're human. We're not this robotic, normal definition of a human either. We're all playful and unique.
And each one of us has a story to share and a piece of the puzzle. And maybe we've figured out life in a certain way that will help someone else.
Mm-hmm. Teaching lessons, and we're helping others learn from our mistakes. I know that's been something big too. So I know we've both personally went through some bigger experiences, and we've also shared our stories with them in different situations. Before we get into that, how did it make you feel to be able to share your story personally?
Well, being able to share my story specifically as a survivor of sexual assault and intimate spousal abuse, it was healing. And when I was able to, it felt relieving and empowering at the same time. I felt when I was able to share my story, I was in a theater group. I was performing a play called The Jane Doe Project at Aquinas College, Grand Rapids, Michigan. And the Jane Doe Project collected a bunch of stories about trauma and about abuse and about domestic violence. And I was able to share my story as well as help others share theirs. And I was able to connect with other people who had experienced something similar, or at least could relate to the conflict that you experience when you're in that kind of situation. And so it was really healing, and I felt relieved to be accepted and not judged, right? To really connect with that community.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think that's one of the biggest reasons so many of us don't share our story is the fear.
Mm-hmm.
The fear of what others will think if we're just kind of naked with the world, with whatever's happened to us or what makes us us. And for me, when I shared my story, it gave me a sense of freedom as well, healing and freedom. It's like being able to just be myself again, like you said, and share my fears. But not only did I share my fears, I had to face them. And by facing them over and over, it helped me grow stronger from them.
Yeah, it's almost like you are able to build up the courage to approach that memory and build up the courage. And by doing that and approaching that memory over and over again, you're subconsciously building yourself up in that memory and you're healing. Mm-hmm. And so it's very healing to keep approaching it. And then you become almost desensitized to it. And you're more taking a survivor's approach and less of a victim approach.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. I'm all about the survivor approach because playing the victim doesn't serve anyone. And it also teaches others by being able to be a survivor. You're not trying to be a hero. You're just trying to survive and own what you've been through. And by doing that, you teach others because so many people are afraid to use their voice. And there's so many things that are just unspoken. You know, those discussions that are unspoken in the room about sexual trauma, mental illness, abuse, anything like that. Like those are just the unspoken topics. They make people uncomfortable. People don't want to talk about them. But when you're able to share that story about yourself and teach others about yourself, it makes others feel more comfortable. For example, when I was a kid, I lost both my parents. And I was very open about that because I was kind of psychic and I knew what was coming and I knew it was a part of what was going to make me me. But when I would share that openly with other children or even their parents that I was an orphan, some parents found this very morbid and others didn't know how to respond. And they would even sometimes get upset that I would share this with the other kids because they didn't know how to explain it to them that I didn't have parents. For the kids, it became a sensitive spot. I made myself vulnerable. They would try to use that part of me as a way to upset me or tease me, just as they would a child who was sensitive to their weight or their hair or skin color.
Mm-hmm. So true. And it's only by reapproaching that can we become powerful and really claim our power back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because we're able to own the things that make you you, and you can find a sense of empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've had to face that from all kinds of situations, from your hairstyle to your lifestyle.
And that's a great point that you make, that people are going to judge you no matter what, because I can't really change my skin color, and yet I still get told what type of boys I should date, for example. That actually happened to me in Ohio. Or, you're kind of judged as to how smart you are. Definitely feeling that pressure that oftentimes in classrooms, I not only had to prove myself as a woman, but also as a person of color. I had to prove that I knew what I was talking about and where my research comes from. So there is a certain power you get from owning who you are and knowing that the world's going to look at you a certain way. There's nothing you can really do about that except empower yourself and to just really be the best person that you can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, again, I know we've been just pounding in the word empowerment, but it's just, again, so truly freeing, because you don't allow others to use who you are against you, because you're sharing your story like out there. It's kind of like if you have dirty laundry and you put it out to air, nobody's going to be able to blackmail you or say this, that, or about you, because you were respectable enough to own your mistake or whatever it was that you did and came out with it, so that somebody couldn't just make you feel bad about being yourself. That's like one of the best feelings, when you can just own your own mistake and say, okay, I was in the wrong, or this happened, and now it's out there. Like, okay.
It's like, yep, this is me. There's nothing you can do about it. That's true. People call me weird all the time, and I'm like, yep, that's fine. And actually today in the office, I was sitting on the floor and someone came around the corner and they were like, what are you doing? And I was like, being weird. Because that's what they were thinking, right?
And you were just being you, uniquely you, and just loving your life and in that moment. And it goes back to that fear. Like, so many times we want to do things, just silly things. They're not going to harm anybody, but we don't do it out of fear. Whether it's dancing or singing or creating that thing or taking that adventure or whatever it is, we don't do it out of fear. And it's ridiculous the amount of things we don't do, and the amount of times we don't allow ourselves to be ourselves. I used this story in a different one of my lessons recently, but there's a musician I really liked. And this is more of like a personal thing, going back to we can't really change who we are. Just as like, one of the big topics this month is Pride Month, and you can't change who you love. And there's a couple big musicians out there, but one specifically I know, he did a whole show on it, and he talked about how he was so afraid for years to come out as bisexual because he thought it would ruin his career.
Oh my God.
But then he came out, and it didn't matter. No one cared on a level of like disrespecting him. And if they did, they weren't a part of his true tribe anyway. But instead, it gave him a sense of freedom, and it brought him a whole bunch of support from that community because he was able to use his voice and share it.
Oh my goodness. That's right. It's Pride Month. Woo woo. And I also should mention that I am bisexual. So.
We all love who we love. I believe people are people, and that is just an important factor. Like, why judge people for who they love if they're just being happy, if they're not hurting anyone?
Right. And how would I be able to connect with my community if I don't announce, like, hey, I'm bisexual, and then I'm also an ally, or, all these things. If we don't use our voice and tell our story and say, hey, I'm open to this, using our voice kind of touches on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The belonging, the love and belonging, the safety, the esteem needs. When we tell our story and embrace who we are, it's boosting our esteem. It's changing how we think about ourselves, and it's helping boost our personal narrative.
It helps us face those fears too, so that we don't fall into the victim part of the narrative. Because everybody's story has two options. We can always be the survivor and thriver, or the victim that wants the handout. And when we're able to face the narrative and really take the higher option and use our voice to shine light upon others rather than beg for their mercy, it's so much more helpful for the world. And if you want to wake up and shine on and be powerful, you got to claim who you are, what you've been through, and the cards you've been dealt. Because like you said, you didn't choose your skin color or where you were born. Many of us don't choose the financial situation we're born into, or the location. Like, right. I'm in the middle of the woods and I want to be able to make a difference. I have to really push it to get my voice heard out there. Like, we don't choose where we are, but we can choose how we play the game and show up.
Exactly. It's not what happens to you. It's how you respond to that thing that matters.
Indeed. I agree. I had to kind of face that a couple months ago, and I recently shared this story, which is kind of why I thought this was a great topic for the Bring Me to Life Challenge. A few months ago, I went through a really, really scary health situation and a story that I knew was going to help many others, but I wasn't sure how to share it. But in the beginning, it all started during a transformational experience where I was already being forced to kind of face my fears. I was part of an amazing event called the Resilience Event, and it's all about being resilient and sharing your story and being willing to kind of put your traumas out there. And it was about healing abuse and being put in a not healthy situation to be raised in. And the whole time that resilient event was happening, I was kind of being put on a microphone and given an opportunity to share my story while I was also healing and going through another traumatic event. And without the opportunity to heal from all of the ridiculous amount of things I was already releasing into the world, I don't know if I would have been able to stay resilient as I had through the transition. So, and I think that you had said before that when you were able to share your stories, it came at a pretty synchronistic time, and you were able to connect with so many others. Because I know after I shared that story, both in person and on my social media, people were reaching out to me, and I made friends that I didn't even know had been through the same thing, and we were all able to heal together. So we both have had the opportunity to share our stories through public speaking, and I know for me that it came up at a really divine time. As I said, I believe for you, yours came up as a divine time as well to be able to help heal.
Yes, I was like a sophomore in college. I just gotten out of an abusive relationship and spent 3 months on an island working to kind of clear my head and get myself back into who I was. And when I came back from the island, I had this opportunity to perform in the Jane Doe Project. And through that, I was really able to heal by speaking my story. And it was also at that time I discovered hula hooping and started to hula hoop as well. So that was a really transformational period that was synchronistic.
I love that. I love that hula hooping was able to help empower you as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. That's another part of your story, and you're able to connect with so many people through it.
Yes, connecting with them and being able to really help others heal too, because I'm able to share that story. And I've done so in my counseling with my clients. When I was in my internship, I was able to connect with my clients on a deeper level, because once they shared a little piece of their story, I would also share a piece of mine. And in that way, they felt more relaxed. You could just see it in their body language that I had experienced something and could possibly maybe minutely relate to their situation in some way. Was really powerful. And, I also want to offer myself up to the high vibe humans who are listening right now too, if they need someone to connect with, to just listen to their story and to what they might be going through or have gone through. And so if that speaks to you, then please reach out to me. I'd like to offer my time.
Yes. I love that. I think that gets into the last little bit of discussion I want to talk about is ways to share your story. And that's a beautiful way to share your story, is to reach out to a counselor such as yourself and to be able to make that connection. Because I think what we strive for as humans is relatability. We want to relate to others. That's why we're afraid of being judged, because we're afraid that somebody might not connect with us on that level. But instead, they connect with us on a much deeper, beautiful level. My partner recently told me a story about how one of the questions, it was like one of those groups on Facebook, and they ask you questions. And one of the questions was, share a beautiful part of yourself, or like something unique. And something that we both do is we talk to animals through the way that animals talk. So I'll meow at a cat if I want to talk to a cat. Mm-hmm. And by him sharing that person was able to connect with him too, and share that they too talk to animals such as like squirrels and things like that, and to try to make those noises. So he found a friend just by sharing that unique detail about themselves, where some people might think, okay, you're weird, you're barking at this dog, where I'm like, no, dude, that dog understands me. Like, he totally gets what I'm saying. So like the sharing those like unique little things about us helps us connect. And the same with clients. Like, I do the same thing with my clients. Like, I want them to know that if they're coming to me, I've had some sort of experience with this. And even though I will never claim to know exactly how another human being feels, I am as empathic as I feel they come. And if I can find a way to relate, I'm sure I feel some sort of connection with them. And I want them to know that, because as a life coach myself, one of the reasons I chose this life path is because I don't want anyone to ever feel as alone as I felt growing up. And that's a part of this mission of being a light worker.
Right. Being inspired by those feelings you had when you were young, and you're like, I actually want to lessen that. One of my favorite quotes is a poem by Emily Dickinson. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, I shall not live in vain. You know, so like, it's just like that.
I love that. Yes, yes, yes. It's so true. If we can help one person with our story, then it is so worth sharing. And I think that goes back to the quote at the beginning too, with what Marianne said, is just by being able to share her story, it brings such a powerful light into the world. I have a few other high vibe humans that I've been watching. I just saw what my friend Courtney from Zippy Content, she's been sharing her story, and her recent blog post was, I found hope waiting in the darkness. And it's actually all about her sharing her story of her trauma and being in the darkest time of her life, and how, though it was terrifying to face her story, by giving herself solitude, she was able to then come and share with her audience, because she's another big audience person, what the lesson she learned was. And I think that's why all of us podcasters and influencers do what we do, is by facing that darkness for others and sharing the light that comes from it.
Yep. There's only one way to know what's on the other side, and that's to experience it.
Yeah. So if you're somebody that is looking to share your story, I want to let you know you can join us in the Bring Me to Life Challenge. You can reach out, as Breezy said, connect with her or myself, and just let us know that you would like to book a session and to connect on a deeper level. You can find us on our social medias. If you're more introverted and you don't want to share it necessarily with the world just yet, write it in a book or connect with a friend.
Or write it on a piece of paper and burn it.
Yeah, release it. It's a matter of just getting it into words and facing that story and owning it in whatever way it is, whether it's expressing it out loud or just internally through meditation.
You can even just throw up a canvas, put down some plastic, and throw paint at a wall.
That's still owning your story and sharing it. I love that. Beautiful. Do you have anything else you would like to share with the High Vibe humans today about sharing your story?
When you want to find healing, you have to find the strength within yourself to express that you need healing and that you want healing. And healing can only be found in talking about how you feel and talking about your perspectives in situations. If feelings don't come easily to you, because sometimes we have difficulty expressing our feelings. So when you're searching for a way to use your voice, you can always start with using I feel statements or I statements. You can start by using a basic template you can find online by Googling I statements. You can say, I feel because, or I feel when. And this is just one way to teach others how to treat you, but also to help you structure your needs in a way that you can clearly communicate with other people. So that's just one little quick way that you can use your voice to express yourself.
I think that's great. That ties right along with the message I had, was if you can't figure out why your story is important, write down all the reasons that you've become stronger, all the lessons you've already learned, and all the things that have made you uniquely you. And that's where you start with figuring out what your story is, and then do exactly what you said and take it and find a way to share it. I love it. I love it. Well, I think that's all I have to share today. I'm so excited that everyone stayed tuned and listened to our discussion here on Awakening with the Girls. Where can people find you, Breezy?
You can find me at my website, www.goldengaian.com. That's Golden Gaian, GAIAN.com. Or you can check out my Instagram, Golden Gaian Breezy. And be sure to check out the next episode of Awakening with the Girls because I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You can find me at shantasticshine.com or Shantastic Shine on any of the various social medias. And as always, thank you, Project Bring Me to Life Network, for hosting us and sharing so much amazing high vibe content.
Woo-hoo!
Until next time, bye.
Stay healthy, stay light, and don't give up the fight. Breezy, out!